for our orientation for our Ryan White research project. So this webinar will be recorded, and we have just started the recording. So we know who's here. We're going to ask you all, we're going to do a roll call, and we're going to ask that you type your name into the chat box.
I can't get on this is Rachel from San Diego, and I'm calling in from my cell phone, but I can't get on the webinar from my laptop. I use a Mac, and it's not letting me into any meeting.
Okay, Rachel, this is Narissa. I'm going to send you the slides in a PDF so you can follow along with us. Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah,
great.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, a cell phone may be a little bit difficult. In actuality, I actually copy and pasted the link to put it into my browser. So
I'm not using my cell phone right now, but I tried to open, I tried to open the any meeting from my Mac. I have a MacBook Air, and it's not letting me into the meeting. I can't see the webinar from my cell phone. I can only hear you guys.
Okay, so Narissa's going to send you the PDF so you can have the slides. We'll try to work some things out. For those of you who do not have the Anytime app on your devices, I would suggest that you download them onto your devices so that when you go to use this program, it will probably help you connect.
I didn't know that there was an app. I thought it was just something through the internet.
Both.
I wish I would have known that.
I think it's both. So we're gonna go ahead with the roll call. But thank you for checking in, Rachel. We value you being here. I'm glad you could be here. So we know Rachel's here. So we need to see that our teams are all present. Does anyone else need to have these slides sent to them? Is there anyone else here who is not on the webinar who needs to have Narissa send them the PDF slides so they can follow us? Okay, so I see Pat is here. Pat is your partner here from DIC. Deidre Ricketson, so Michigan is here. San Diego is here. We're doing roll call right on the chat box, so please check in. Ebony, you are here. Is your partner here? Cindy, I see you here. Do I see Lauren here? We need to have pairs here. This project only works, we laid that out in the beginning, when people are here in pairs. Thank you, Sharon, for being here. I see you that Chicago is here. Meta and Sharon are here. Are Meta and Sharon together? Because I see Sharon, I don't see Meta showing up on the chat box. Sharon says yes, Meta and Sharon are together. Awesome. Great. Okay. So, great. I see you now, Meta. I see you on there now. Okay. Cindy, can you check in with Lauren to see why Lauren's not here, please? Could you, chat her or something to see why she's not here, because she needs to be here? Okay, Florida, I see Vicky. Who else is here with Vicky from Florida? Janet. Janet and Florida are both here. Thank you, Janet. Very good. And we have Louisiana, Michigan. So I know Patricia is here. And, yeah, so Michigan's here. Michigan's checked in. And let's see who's left. South Carolina, Pat and Veronica. Is Veronica online yet? That's my question. Veronica. Veronica, are you going to be able to join us online? Or do you need the slides sent to, the PDF slides sent to you as well? Pat, you can answer for her if you're speaking with her, if you're texting her or something. You need to know where she is. And Cindy's reaching out to Lauren. I'm surprised Lauren's not here. Maybe she's having a problem getting on as well. Veronica's trying to get on, and she does need the slides. So, Narissa, can you send the slides to Veronica Briscoe, please? Thank you. And you may as well go ahead and send them out to Lauren while you're at it, because Lauren's not on either. And then I guess we can go ahead and get started once we know who's here and who needs the PDF slides to follow along as they still try to get connected. Great. Okay. 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 I guess we're ready to start. And just going to do a check again to make sure that everyone can hear me. Everyone's hearing me clearly? Okay. Great. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. And, yeah. So this is the Ryan White Research Orientation with myself. I'm Wahida, the bossy one. Sorry, y'all. Just my nature. I know I don't mean any harm. This is Wahida Shabazz L, Regional Organizing Coordinator for PWN. And Narissa Irizarry is also here, who's our legal fellow at PWN. So we are going to just start with our next slide. And our next slide is going to tell us about, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, So we are going to, so this is our table of contents. We're going to talk about the context, describing the problem, why this project is important. We're going to talk about the healthcare landscape that's changing. We're also going to talk about our project goals. We're going to talk about our timeline. And this will be done over the next hour. We're going to give you a total overview of the program. We're going to ask that you jot questions down. They may get answered as we go along, but the webinar is going to serve to introduce you to the entire project. We're going to describe the project, the purpose, the logistics. We're also going to talk about the information on the stipend. We'll end with next steps. And like I said earlier, we're going to leave ample time at the end of the webinar. So please write your questions down, and again, they may get answered as we go along. Okay. So, talking about content. Healthcare is changing. The Affordable Care Act implementation, Medicaid expansion in some states. So why are we doing this? This project is important because the healthcare landscape is changing. The Affordable Care Act is being implemented in some places and not being implemented in other places throughout the country. And the Affordable Care Act has implications. It brings implications of its own set of issues like higher pricing for HIV meds. Medicaid is being expanded in some states and increase the access to health care for low-income people. Some states are fighting against Medicaid expansion. We all know what that's like. We all know some of you here are in those states who are fighting against Medicaid expansion. Ryan White is up for reauthorization. We want to be prepared to provide informed recommendations on the state of services for women living with HIV. And throughout all of these ongoing policy discussions, we need to make sure that we are making informed recommendations of women living with HIV. So that's the context. But the bigger question in context becomes how well are the medical care needs of women with HIV being currently met? So this project is designed to access the state of care for women living with HIV. We want to know what are the barriers to access to care, We want to take the information that we gather, we want to analyze it, and ultimately create some research-based policy recommendations to ensure that the critical services such as child care, transportation, that these services are being provided in this shifting healthcare landscape. The report that we generate will show how support services are vital to ensuring quality health care and quality of life for women living with HIV. So the big questions again, how is Medicaid, how will the medical care needs, Medicare needs, how will the medical care of needs of women for HIV currently met? How well are the non-medical care needs, the supportive needs for women with HIV, how are they being met? How are the services changing? We want to ensure that supportive service needs, that we have the supportive service needs for women with HIV, that they are an integral part, an integral aspect of the National Ryan White Reauthorization discussion. We are doing an assessment of services so that we can have a basis from which we can understand what are the service delivery gaps for women living with HIV. So are they positive? So these services changes, are they positive changes or are they negative changes for women living with HIV? And for all of these questions, we want to see how are these trends geographically? How are they different geographically? How are they different by race, by age, ethnicity, etc.? So we need to ensure that there's a coordinated voice for women-focused services in these ongoing discussions and policy discussions around Ryan White reauthorization. So the goals of this project would be to examine to what extent the care and treatment needs of women with HIV are being met in 7 geographic areas. And by now, you know that those areas are, and this is just by alphabetical order, the Bay Area, Chicago, Florida, Louisiana, Michigan, San Diego, and South Carolina. So our goals, we have 3 major goals. One is to examine to what extent the care and treatment needs of women with HIV are being met in 7 geographical areas. The second is to build capacity of women living with HIV to engage in research and data collection. We talk about building our capacity. And the third is produce and disseminate this report based on the findings from our healthcare, from our project. So our goals for this project, again, are to examine the care and treatment needs of women living with HIV in 7 geographic areas. Build capacity of women living with HIV to do research and to collect data and to produce a report based on the findings from the research project. So we are going to use this report to inform our Ryan White and other healthcare advocacy efforts. I hope that's clear. And if not, we're going to have plenty of time at the end to address your questions. And I'm going to turn it over to Narissa to talk about the timeline of this project.
Hey, everybody. So I want to echo Wahida and say thanks, everybody, for joining us on a Saturday afternoon. We wanted to try to pick a time that worked for everybody. And we know everybody's busy and working and volunteering and doing lots of other advocacy stuff. So thank you for taking part in this on Saturday. So this next slide is a timeline that's going to guide our project. So April and May, we're doing those trainings now. We're doing 4 webinars to set the stage for the data collection. Then in mid-May, you all will start collecting data. Throughout that process, PWN is going to offer technical assistance. So we will be here to help you throughout that process. And I'll talk a little more about that later. And then from mid-July through August, PWN staff will analyze all that data that you all collected and start to write the report. We may need to have a couple follow-up phone calls with you all once we start the data analysis, mostly to get your input and any clarification on the data that you collected. At the end of the project, we're going to create an accessible policy statement that we can release as an advocacy tool and a resource to mobilize advocates. Okay. For our next slide. So this is our first webinar training, Saturday, April 18th. We're going to have 3 more after this. On April 24th and 29th, we will have Sonia McKenzie, a professor that has specialized on gender and HIV issues. She teaches at Santa Clara University. She's going to come on and talk to you all about what community-based participatory research is, and then designing survey questions. So the 24th will be about community-based participatory research, and then the 29th will be about survey and question design. There will also be a discussion period for you all to give input on these webinars. So there's going to be a facilitated discussion as part of those webinars for her to answer your questions. On the last webinar, we're going to bring it all together and then get you all set to do your research. We have a short survey at the end of each webinar. So if you could please fill that out as part of your participation in the webinar, that'd be great. For the one on the last one, week of May 11th, I sent around a doodle poll. Many of you responded, thank you. If you have not received it or you can't find it in your email or whatnot, please email me and I will resend it to you. And I'm going to try to pick a time again that works for everybody on that. Okay, so your role. Our expectations of you all as researchers are to, 1, work as a team. We want you all to regularly communicate with your partner, talk about how you guys are going to split up the work and which parts you all will be doing together. We want you all to have regular communication with PWN's research team. So for this project, I will be your main contact. Wahida will be your contact for chapter-related issues. So what may come up is you identify some recruitment ideas as you're doing this research, then definitely you'll bring in Wahida for those discussions. Bianca is a public health intern that we're going to be having this summer. She's really excited for the project. I'm excited that she'll be coming on to help us. And she's also a fluent Spanish speaker, so I'm excited for her to do some outreach, help you all in San Diego do some outreach with that too. So we need you all to attend all 4 of the webinar trainings. We're going to really try to keep them to the point and brief. Like today, we allotted an hour. I don't necessarily think that this may take a whole hour, but we may with the questions. And we have 2 hours for each of the other trainings, and we estimate that they'll take probably an hour and 45 minutes of content, an hour and 30 minutes of content, and then questions. We want you all to collect data. We need you all to maintain required paperwork for the project. We need you all to submit data that you collect to me. We need you all to participate in the data analysis project, process. So we will do the data analysis, but like I said earlier, we may have some follow-up questions, and we may need to talk to you. I may need to talk to you all about questions I may have on the data you submitted. So after successfully completing all of the above activities, PWN will issue an honorarium of $500 each to each researcher. So that is $1,000 per team. All researchers will also be acknowledged in the report. And what will you need for this project? You'll need regular access to the internet, because you'll need to do that for this webinar participation, email communication with me, email communication with stakeholders and other people when you all are setting up interviews, a laptop or computer with internet access for web-based surveys. And that we'll talk more about that when we do the next couple webinars. And you all will think about whether you want to do web-based surveys. Maybe some of you may feel like paper surveys are better for your location, and we'll talk that out in the next couple webinars. You'll need a phone number that you can reach that consistently. So we can talk to you. People may have questions in your area. Other stakeholders may have questions that we want them to be able to reach you. You'll need to have access to Microsoft Word, and that's really just for sending us summaries and information that way. So, the technical assistance. We're really here to support you throughout this entire process. We will hold monthly check-in phone calls with your team, and we're also available in between those phone calls for any questions you have about the research process. So you all have my email, and my phone number's in the signature of my email. Always reach out to me with any questions. No question is too small or too big. Let me know, and I will do my best to answer any and all questions you all will have. And then during the interviews, it came up with some people that Wahida and I know that you wanted to ask about survey incentives. So Wahida and I brought that to Nana's attention, and she is figuring out what we can do for that, what we can offer people, and how many we can offer. So we'll keep you all updated on that. Okay, so in the meantime, before our next training, we'd like you to schedule a meeting with your partner. You two should discuss questions you would like answered on the next 3 webinars, and think about what you two really want to know about services for women in your area. Really think about the resources in your community and what you want to look at during this research project. So you'll need to do that before the next training, which is April 24th. I'm also going to be sending out 2 readings before the next webinar. These resources are meant to help you become familiar with the research process that you'll be leading. The first one is short. It's 4 pages. It's a required reading. It's really just a frequently asked questions about community-based participatory research. And the second one is a recommended reading. It has some examples of community-based participatory research. It's a little more in depth. We recommend that you keep that and use it maybe when you're starting out your research process, and that way you can go back to it with maybe initial questions you may have. So we will have our academic partner, as I said before, Sonia McKenzie, giving these next 2 trainings. On those trainings, you will learn what community-based participatory research is, how community-based participatory research is structured, how research questions are designed, and on the last training, you're going to learn how to use survey tools, how data will be entered, and how to recruit participants. Like I said, for that last one, we haven't set the date yet. Once I look at the doodle pool and people's responses, I'll set it from there and email everybody. So, meeting with your partner. When you meet with your partner before our next webinar training, which will be on April 24th, consider asking these questions and then writing down your answers. Your discussion will help you focus on priority issues and areas for your research. These are just some suggested questions that we think may help you all focus your research. What do we most want to know about services for women with HIV in our area? What do we think some of the problems and issues are? Any changes in funding or service availability to consider locally? Where would we recruit women with HIV to participate in a survey? Make a list of some organizations that you may think about where you'd recruit women from. And who are some of the key stakeholders we might talk to? So those can be individuals or organizations. Make a list, thinking maybe about providers, maybe at public health departments, but also clinicians and those providers as well. All right, so now we want to hear from you all. I want to hear what questions you have. That's a blanket overview. Everybody's in question and answer mode, so in order to unmute yourself, you just need to press *6. And please ask your question. If you can't unmute yourself because maybe you're in too noisy of a place, please go ahead and write it in the chat box, and Wahida and I will answer your questions.
Any questions at all? This is your time. And just so folks know, I do see a couple more people on the phone that we hadn't saw before. I see Lauren is on. Thank you for joining us. And if there are other folks on the phone, we see your phone numbers up there. So, yeah. I hope you were able to get the PDF so you can follow. But what kind of questions do you have? Any questions about the content, context, or about the goal of the training?
So I see that Vicky has a question. Will all groups collect the same demographic information? So you mean about asking questions about age, ethnicity, income, and gender identity? Yes, we want to have those uniform questions since we are going to make a comprehensive policy report at the end. And Sharon asked, are we restricted to our geographical area? What do you mean, Sharon? Like just because you all are in Baton Rouge, right?
Yeah.
So you want to, you're saying like only to Baton Rouge, or what are you asking? Oh, you can go outside of Baton Rouge for sure. We'd love it if you went into some rural areas because, I mean, you all know we'd love to hear what are those needs throughout areas of Louisiana, not just in the city. And we can talk about, you know, if that is something you're interested in doing and if you can do that, absolutely. And Heather, near the border, we would be very excited to get some data and information from the border areas for sure. That's, you know, an issue that within our community is not often addressed. And so one of the reasons we wanted a team in San Diego was because we definitely wanted to get at some documented and undocumented folks near the border. So yes, please. And then Pat asked, each region is responsible for creating their own survey questions. We're going to have that webinar on survey question and design. And on that, after we have that webinar in which Sonia will talk about designing research questions, we will have a facilitated discussion at the end of the webinar with you all about what questions we want included in our surveys. So it's going to be designed by this group, all of you. Oh, and then Vicky just asked me to go back to the timeline, so I'm going to scroll back. I think this timeline overview, yep. Janet, can we survey both via paper and web-based to collect data? That's a question that I would love you to save and bring up during the survey question and design webinar because both have their issues, right? We need people who have internet access, and then also it's hard to collect paper surveys from folks as well. So let's definitely save that question and bring it up on the 29th and see what happens then. Let's see. And then Heather, are we restricted as to what agencies we're able to access? No, you are not restricted. We know you all have strong connections with agencies in your area. And so we know that you all will tap into those initially. But you're not restricted, no. And then Pat asked, go ahead, Rita.
No, I would say Deirdre is asking, will everybody receive the slides?
Oh, yes. We are going to, we're having Olivia potentially help us create a link on our PWN website. So you will be able to access these recordings and slides all in one location. Similar to how the regional organizers have, the regional chapters have that login that they use to access their page. We're going to try to create a similar one for this project. But I can actually, I'll send it around before then, since that might take a little bit. I'll send the slides around later today then to all of you, so you can have that. And Heather, what does AVRC and HNRP stand for? And you guys can come off mute too. You can press *6 if y'all want to ask them. Okay.
Yeah, so this is Wahida, and I just want to remind you all that these webinars will be recorded. So not only can you go over the slides, but you'll be able, once you hit the link, you'll be able to see the slides move on their own independently of you pushing them, and you'll be able to hear the presenters, as in all of our recorded webinar links. So if there's something that we missed, you'll be even able to go over it and hear the presentation over again, as well as look at the slides.
Okay, so Vicky has a question about creating the survey at that amount of time. So I think you all know about the unspoken report that we issued. I think that was last year. We get to correct me if I'm wrong, on the sexual health and reproductive health for women living with HIV, or the state of that. We kind of based this timeline off that, and we saw that that timeline, that amount of time for designing surveys worked for that project, and we're just using it for this one as well. Hey, Deidre, so you're saying one-on-one or in a group setting, and that's definitely going to be up to the individual researchers and your research team. That'll be up to you and Pat to decide. Whatever you all think works best for your geographical area.
Yeah.
And Heather,
this is Wahida. I just want to just jump in, because here's the thing. That's why we're putting you both in pairs. You know, because if you decide to do a focus group with a group of people, you would need that other person for the support. So, but you have the autonomy, knowing your own geographical areas. You have your autonomy to develop, you know, your project, whatever fits your area best.
Heather, your question about those agencies and organizations, if you wanted to have interviews with those, like clinicians or providers in those locations, those organizations, that would be great. That'd be great. And we can talk. That would definitely be an area where maybe we can help you arrange some scheduling or reaching out to folks as well for that. So that's where some of that technical assistance comes in.
So,
yes.
Narissa, this is Wahida again. Can we make it clear that the people we are interviewing will be women living with HIV, even though you may want to, if there's an agency that you need help getting into to access their clients or their constituents, we can help you do that. Just let us know. But we are interviewing women living with HIV exclusively.
Yes. And some clinicians and providers who may, are probably going to not be living with HIV, but our ideas to
Okay.
get the perspective from women living with HIV.
Okay.
And Pat asks if you can recruit for PWN chapters as we administer the surveys. And absolutely, that's part of the process. We know you all are strong in your area, and that's just going to naturally come. I'm sure they're going to ask you what you do, and you can share what you do and talk about PWN in your chapter when you're doing this research project. Absolutely. Heather, that sounds great. You said you know people from all those agencies, so we'll definitely talk about that some more. Probably you and I will talk. You and I, and Rachel will talk about that. And yes, of course, you asked who cater to only women. Does this include both cisgender and transgender women? Absolutely, we are including trans and cisgender women in this project. Do we have other questions I can ask that Wahida and I can answer for folks right now? So always feel free to reach out if you have direct questions about the research project. Please reach out to me. There's my email up on there, and I'll get back to you all as soon as I can. If you have questions, a little more questions about how this project can support your chapter, please contact Wahida. She'll definitely answer those for you. That's her email up on there. And so she knows everything going on with this project, of course, and we're all very excited about it. And one of the reasons, we are excited about it is its potential for getting other women involved in advocacy. And we think that naturally, as they are interviewed, they'll become intrigued about what PWN is and what you're doing and how you're doing to impact the state of healthcare for women living with HIV. And so we're really excited that you all will be doing these interviews and this research. Oh, and Heather, about flyers and describing the project. Let me check in with Nana about that. That's a really good question. And that's definitely a question that I'll ask her before the next webinar and see if she can answer that. Do you have anything to add, Wahida, before we jump off? Or anyone else have any other questions?
No, the only thing that I would add, I just want to thank everybody for coming on a Saturday afternoon in the middle of the day, and but we are here to support you all, and we're willing to adjust our schedules to meet your schedules because you are the ones out there, on the ground doing the work. And just want to say we really appreciate you, and appreciate what you're about to embark on, and understand that everything that we do as members of PWN has never been done before, ladies. It's never been done before, and we are trendsetters. And we are shaping our own history, and everything you do is a part of that. So I just want to thank you for your commitment to this project, and thank you for and good luck to everybody with their project. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you all.
you're welcome. All the thanks go to you all. Oh, there's a survey right after this, right?
Oh,
Narissa?
yeah. Yes. And, you all know Vanessa. She wants us to make sure and do our surveys and make sure we're doing everything right for y'all.
Yeah. So as you sign off the webinar, the survey should pop right up with just a few questions. Just answer those, and we'd be very thankful to get feedback. Mm-hmm. Madam, you're so welcome. Thank you as well. Okay. So, Narissa, can we talk right after this? I think everyone's.
Yeah. Call my cell, Wahida.
Jan is asking, when does the survey show?
Oh,
once you yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Janet, once you click off the webinar, the survey will automatically come up. And we'll also send you all a link for the webinar in the event that you missed a link for the survey in case you missed the survey. Okay, Ebony, we'll send you the link to the survey within the next 5 minutes. Pulling it up now. Gotta put it in this box.
Thanks for letting us know. I'll let Vanessa know that we're doing our job and everybody is definitely going to fill out the survey.
Right. And we'll remind you